Have you. I am Naima Rose, and this is
Queen D. Hello, everyone.
In the Building and the Place to Be. And I know you guys already know who this woman is. I'll let her introduce herself in a minute, but she's been on so many shows here on Primal. You know her very well. She's outspoken, she's daring, she's beautiful, she's creative, she's talented, she's driven. So, Regina Dighton, please say a little bit more about yourself.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I am Regina
Hi.
Dighton. And this time, the hat I'm wearing is with the Child Safety Forward Project at currently at St. Francis Hospital. And I want to introduce Kayla Waters, who is a parent in the program with the Child Safety Forward Parent Engagement Work Group. And we're going to talk, a little bit later, but we're going to focus on parent power. Hi, Kayla.
Right.
Hey, Kayla.
Parent power. Hi, Kayla.
So before we get started,
Hello. How are you?
Good in yourself.
Good. Good. Thank you.
You brought that program to St. Francis Hospital. They didn't bring it to you.
Okay, yes, this is true. If you're wishing to say this, the way it got started, when I came upon the statistic that Black children die at twice the rate of white children nationally in Connecticut and right in Hartford, when you compare Hartford statistics to the surrounding suburbs, our children die twice as much and are also injured at an increasingly high rate. And I'm sorry, that just don't make no sense. It's not right. And as I started talking to my friends and colleagues and brothers and sisters in the community, we were all so upset because nobody told us.
Right.
So you hear of a child dying, it's horrible. You go to funeral, you do what you can, you support the people, but you don't know how political this personal tragedy is. So that's why I was like, no, we need to do this. And I'll say my focus, as I started it, was to kind of flip the script. I learned, and they say from birth to 12 months is the most dangerous period in a year in a child's life. That's true if you look at 1 year. Because that's when you get babies dying of unsafe sleep, which is important. Just on that, what I learned was that officials, professionals, well-meaning, have been talking to one another and devising how to do education and make things change for 20 years. And the rate at which children died from unsafe sleep had not gone down a fraction of a percent. Now, maybe I'm too simple. Maybe I'm too country. Maybe I'm too ghetto. But the first thought on my mind was, you ain't talked to nobody.
Right.
You didn't ask. Well, you talked to, you talked at, you prescribed, you wrote things.
To.
Right. And you might have even
judged.
held some focus groups and said, what do y'all think or whatever. But you never thought, which I really believe, the people closest to the problem are closest to the solution.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
And so my thought was that as we went on with this thing, we needed to gather and have the power be with parents, community people, grassroots community-based organizations. And that it's our job to let our public servants know what we need them to do to help us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And then it's their job to meet and help us. We should be supporting one another.
Right.
But that parents need to be in the lead. So to that end, the Parent Engagement Work Group, we ask parents, what do you want? And I'm going to let Kayla say something in a minute. One of the first things parents said, they said a bunch of things. But one of the things they pointed out was that information on keeping a child safe and raising a child safely in a healthy way and all that stuff, that information typically only comes to us when we have been suspected of doing something wrong, of neglect or abuse, or there's some police intervention, from some kind of issue. When there's a problem, it's reactionary.
Absolutely.
Reactionary, yeah.
And they said, we want to see places in our communities that people trust that have comprehensive information. And they made a list of things they wanted to learn. So then our job was to present education on those various things. The state, and they should be, has been focused a lot on unsafe sleep, but they haven't been focused on gun violence, community violence. They haven't been focused on what kills our 10 to 17-year-olds. And though the first year of life is the most dangerous 1 year in a child's life, if you look at the children who died from 10 to 17, it outnumbers those that died 1 and under of unsafe sleep. So the other thing we've been doing is showing parents the data that's coming out of state agencies and letting them question it. I love these parents because they don't automatically just accept it. They looked at something and went, I don't believe that.
Right. Well, a lot is, we're underrepresented and a lot of the data is underreported.
They don't want us to know because they don't want us to take up arms and so on and so forth.
Right.
And really, they don't care if our children die. It's the bottom line.
No.
They do not care.
Kayla, what do you want to say about your experience with parents? Engagement workshop or anything?
Well, all right, so again, I'm Kayla Waters. Those, I'm pretty sure you know who I am. I've worked with y'all closely. It's been a long time. So with the parent engagement group, it's awesome. I can't really complain. I actually got into it because of the fact that I just recently lost my 7-month-old son last year.
Oh no, so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Wow.
And as of, I want to say 3 weeks ago, I just finished talking to the detective on my case. So he's been following up with me like every week, shall I say, to let me know that he's doing everything in his power to see what was the issue. And to be quite honest with you, he didn't wake up from his sleep, so nothing was wrong. For those that do know me, I got an 11-year-old. It was really tough, really, really tough to have no explanation or what happened and why.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what drew me here, and to see how I, or, myself and with other community people that I've worked with can push out everything, everything to include everybody, my community. My community has not been included in some time since I've been doing not just this program or just this workshop, but I've done many things over the years. And no, nothing has really changed. No answers. The legislative, the people that we put in office, they try, but they don't try, and that's just how we all feel.
Your feelings are valid. They're valid. It's, well, your baby boy won't have died in vain, for sure, with the work that you are doing to uplift his honor and to make sure that this doesn't happen to any more parents. So I applaud you.
Yeah, and I want to thank you and all the other parents who've been willing to tell the story, share their pain. I mean, that's no easy thing for others, but that is so powerful because otherwise people just feel like this is some isolated incident that happened in their family. Yeah. And they don't know that there are others, so many others for so many different reasons. Like one of the things I think and the other thing is to come together so we can take care of each other.
Yes.
Yeah. When you feel like it's only you,
right.
You're there by yourself.
Yes, absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what does it feel like to be at the table, the one that's asking for or demanding help and demanding advice and being an expert on you and rallying other parents around you? What's that feel like to be in the decision-making seat?
Wow. I feel great, even though that this isn't my first seating. But I can say this is, in a long time, the first program I've joined, you know, that I've been part of since, the past 6 years. So far, so good. I'm loving, you know, the outcome and the parents that we have brought in and to meet different people and people I've actually known a long time.
Okay.
And to just pretty much for us to just push it out. That's all. I'm ready to do the footwork. So
pushing it out. And we're going to start, I'm going to tell you, the 25th, Friday after next.
Okay.
We're going to start meeting to put together that educational guide. So
Yeah.
I should say that parents came upon a list of things they wanted to learn.
Yeah.
So they could develop a guide and make it available to parents proactively, not after DCF or the police or juvenile court has been involved with your family before that, you know, and taught by people we can relate to. I want to ask you, Kayla, of the things that have been presented and discussed at the parent workshop, work group rather, what are some of the things that stand out for you the most that you've learned or been exposed to?
Well, from our group sessions, we all are saying the same thing. Our voice is not being heard. Our voice wants to be heard. We need to be heard. We need to be part of it. We can do everything individually as I, but of course we know that's not going to get us anywhere.
Yeah.
We've been doing this a long time saying I, me, but not us. So we are ready to take that form and to make it a us and to make it y'all.
Of the data that was presented, is there anything that stands out for you? I certainly remember that one thing where people say, I don't believe that.
Nope.
So, he was talking about that. I love that the parents had the power to challenge what the CDC was putting out.
Yeah.
So, yes, upon all the information and all the videos that we have gotten and received from different agencies, a lot of us don't agree. A lot of us feel like it's false information or either repeated information from way back, who knows? You know what I'm saying?
Needing to be updated.
Yeah, so we're just ready to see the statistics from, all the way early 2000s all the way up until now, like comparisons and things like that. But as a lot of us can see that there has not been no type of change. And it's really scary for us because now, you know, I'm just finding out that, you know, I got to do a funeral on Friday, which is tomorrow. So my cousin passed away in a, 4-car pileup over there here in Hartford, up under the bridge. So we're burying her.
Sorry, I heard about that too.
Yeah.
All of them, a lot of all those people I knew.
Oh man.
You know, it's just been funeral after funeral. Then I just found out my boy Ryan, the 2nd of this month, was killed on Garden Street. That was a young man, a 33-year-old young man that was taken out again by a bullet. Don't know why. He's not that type of person to get in, none of that trouble. He's cleaning up his life. You know what I'm saying? He got kids and stuff like that. So it was just a lot, it's shocking for a lot of us. And, I've had to, be there for a lot of people, be a support system, even though, with the past of my own losing and things like that. It's so hard. It's just so hard.
It is hard. It's too hard.
Even imagine.
It is too hard.
Very hard to give when you're feeling depleted inside as well. But, keep on doing it because I think it will help.
You know it.
Yeah. Just keep on
You know, I ain't got nothing but happiness inside my soul. So
Amen. Amen.
if I could get everybody to where I'm at,
Right.
let's do it. You know, because we all need each other. You know, every other culture stick together but us.
Mm.
And
Well,
I'm
you
tired.
know what? We stick together, but you know what? I gotta say this because it's funny. Every other culture says they don't stick together. And you know what they say? I have been blessed to be in those rooms in corners with people who trusted me where they're not hiding nothing, right?
Yep.
And every last one of them, from the Latinx, Hispanic, whatever you want to call it, right? To the white gay community, to the Asian community. I've sat right there, and to Native Americans, I've heard them all say, we should be like the Black people. They stick together. I fell out. I fainted. They had to smack me up to wake me up. So that's how we look, and that's how they look to us. That's nothing but distance.
Yeah.
And I've heard them all say, we're like crabs in a barrel.
Yep.
Heard every last one of them
Did we
saying,
create that saying
I'm
ourselves?
pretty sure we
I
did.
think we're the ones that came up with that.
We are.
I don't know where it came from. I've heard Asians call each other bananas. You yellow on the outside, white on the inside.
Oh, I never heard that.
Native Americans call each other apples. You red on the outside. So it really is, you know.
When we
Well, as my great late uncle said, we all crazy. That's
I'm going to subtract myself from the crazy group.
That's what oppression does to people. You know what I mean? That's what oppression does to people.
Yeah.
But we definitely have to take care of each other. And I'm always happy when I see examples of, you know, where we do stand together.
Absolutely.
You know, and try to focus on that. On the 27th of March, there's going to be a 3-hour workshop for the parents, and they could certainly invite other people from Hartford Communities That Care. That's a request of what the parents wanted. Andrew Woods did a presentation to them on gun violence and community violence. So now they've set up a 3-hour class at the Brother Carl Hardrick, from the Brother Carl Hardrick Institute, right? It's going to be at the Gray Y on the effects of community violence on children.
Okay.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And we've asked them to share their data because their data will have stuff that the police data doesn't have. Now, did I say this?
Yeah, you were talking.
Air? Or did I say about the police data doesn't single out?
Yeah, you're talking about different systems and how they showcase their data or how they track their data in their systems, and that some don't have specific categories to classify a group. They just lump all one, and so the data is skewed.
So you can't really look at it and see a whole picture. So, for instance, DCF is in charge of neglect and abuse of children by a caregiver. So if abuse or neglect of a child has taken place or crime against a child that was not by somebody in a caregiving thing, they're not in the DCF stats. They don't belong there.
Right.
So logically, we said, we can find this out from the police. When interviewing the data people at Hartford Police, they're saying, we don't have coding that separates out children. So it will say family, it'd be a general category.
Yeah.
But you can't look in their data and see that X number of 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 10-year-olds were injured in community violence that wasn't at the hands of a caregiver. So all those kids go missing.
Falling through the cracks, right?
Yeah, we don't know. And also, it's trying to compare, because they organize their data differently, places like DCF, the Office of the Child Advocate, the police, a hospital, all these people that touch these cases. You can't read it. It doesn't translate. It doesn't go together.
Right.
So it's not apples and apples. It's an apple and orange, some grapes and a grapefruit.
Right.
So that's one of the things we know will come as a recommendation, is to talk about that and what it means. And that's another reason that people don't trust data.
Absolutely.
Is you look at it from one source or another, it says different things.
Absolutely.
An important piece has been to expose parents to as much data as we could find, because too much I think this society hoards information as badly as it hoards money.
They compile it and then do nothing with it.
Right. It sits on the shelf. We never know. Like, we didn't know our babies were dying twice as often.
And it becomes obsolete. I mean, because when you see there's a problem, you have to do something about it. And how many people are willing to actually do something with the data that they find?
Right. So like the medical examiner's office knows what children died. That information goes in, so it's there. It's a medical examiner knows it, but the Hartford police don't know it.
Right.
And they don't talk to each other either.
They've been working on integrating these systems since 2013. Well, that's the first time I remember being in a meeting about it. And it hasn't happened yet, almost in 10 years.
Yeah. No, it's
and
just
that was
crazy.
one of the first things we discussed when we came together to work on this project, was the fact that none of these systems talk to each other.
And we know, and I think some people, I wouldn't say that. I don't think there are many people that wouldn't want them to talk to each other, but I don't think they have hope that it would, and that it's not a desperate have to for many of them.
Yeah.
I think that's where I say people have to come forth. We need, and that gets me into, in 6 months, the Department of Justice funding for this will be over. So we are actively now not only looking at future funding, but where this project should live, so that parents are in charge.
Yeah.
And we had a conversation with Millie this morning. We're looking at Hartford Parent University as a lead, and we're looking at other agencies right in the community, the grassroots ones like Voices of Women of Color, talking to places that help people to own their data and understand it, like the Institute for Community Research, and anybody and everybody, to really see them each applying on their own to do what they do best, and come together and figure out the governance, so that parents are saying, this is what we need.
Right.
So we talked the other day about this. So ICR should be helpful in helping to gather that kind of information.
Yes. And looking at how I have a meeting with them next Tuesday.
Okay.
How fixing this data would help. I mean, I know it will take years. The systems are huge. They're expensive. They need to be refunded, changed. It's a trip. It's going to be legislative action, because it's just going to be what it is, but it needs to start, and we need to get progress reports.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
We need to understand how it's happening. And why. Some of it is resources, but I was saying parents and community would be the best advocates for these state agencies if they would just be transparent about, we would like to keep better data. The state didn't give us funding. Seriously, to have enough people. The Office of the Child Advocate is responsible for reviewing the deaths of all children in Connecticut, and they have a staff of 7 people.
Yes, they never answer the phone.
They are always behind, and it's not like the people there don't care. They are always behind. They will always be behind, and they're kind of, part of what they do is watch over what DCF and other places do.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's anybody in there that doesn't care.
They do care. It's just,
but it's like, okay, you need to come to us, because we need to be up in the legislature saying 7 people.
To be the advocate.
Right. Agree.
You can't advocate adequately for children if you got 7 people for a whole state.
Absolutely. Where is the answer to that?
And where are the priorities too?
Yeah.
Because it's not on Barber Street.
That's what I'm saying. Where's the
All right.
priority? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like the heroin epidemic. When that came in, it affected a certain class of people. Everybody was up in arms.
Yep.
It has to affect certain communities for things to be able to be done, unless we take
Yes.
control ourselves, which is what you did with this program.
Also, what you're saying is like when it became opioid and it started to affect those groups of people, that,
Yep.
oh my God, and now it's not a crime anymore. Now it's an illness.
Yeah.
Now we're going to throw money at it. But when my brothers were nodding off in the hallways on heroin,
Yeah.
we're trying to throw them in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah. You design the system to work for certain people, and then it does.
It's crazy.
And so what we have to do is get our legislative, our delegation to work for us, or we need to get somebody else to sit in those seats.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kayla, you want to say anything about what changes do you think are needed? I know you could talk about that all night, but what changes do you think are needed in the systems? Schools, DCF, police, anything.
Well, I'm in the education fight, so I am up there with them. I do testify every now and then, but I do submit my letters.
How so? Which part of education are you?
Well, I'm for the I'm with the charter school system.
Okay.
And I also, I delegate between both Hartford Public and charter schools, because both of them need education, period, well-rounded. They all need it. Everybody needs to be broken down evenly. And that's just my standpoint as, again, growing up here in Hartford, so many different things. It's just not here for our kids and for ourselves as parents. So between education, between parents and, engagement, everybody coming together, everybody, and it's really hard to say that because everybody picks what's good for them. So if it's not money coming out of it or something coming out of it, they're not going to budge. And it sucks to say it that way. Like when I did my organization for Unity, I didn't play the game. I did feed everybody when we did the You Need to Know projects. But again, if you don't invest in yourself, no one else is going to invest in you. And that's just my whole belief on it. But I'm for everybody. I'm sticking my neck out for everybody, even for the PCAs, because I'm back doing PCA again.
Okay. Excellent.
And so I just sit at the table with everybody, and it's really, really a struggle when you have to, I guess, not be able to talk about everything all that in the sequence. It's a full circle, and people are not seeing it. People are not seeing the same.
Like you're saying the same thing to different groups at different times, and just wish you could, have everybody at the table to have
mash everybody together.
You have certain people doing certain things, and they need to all know what everybody's doing to work cohesively.
Yep, we can do that all day, but the people that are supervisors and and higher ups, they're not going to do that, and we just have to force it out of them. That's all. The same way they forced the epidemic of opiates and heroin and weed and everything else under the sun. So the same way they force everything upon us, we just have to push back a little harder. And that's just what my goal is for pretty much for the rest of my life. Got an 11-year-old, and she'll be wanting to be doing certain things in the same, fields of careers that we all do. And it will suck to say if I'm still seeing the same thing after 30-some years, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yes.
He's only 11. So another 10 years, what are we going to see in the next 10 years? And we got to move fast. And I understand that, a lot of us don't like to be pushed under the, crunch time and things like that, but it's time. It's time for us to step up, step out, and make sense of it.
If you had a magic wand, what's the first thing you would change about the school system? You said education, but I want to know, what would you change that would benefit children well-being?
Gosh.
I know, I love that.
I'm gonna take this. I'm probably gonna take the easy route. I'm gonna say activities for the kids.
Okay.
And why I say that is because growing up in elementary and in middle school, we had programs called CPEP. We had programs called the Connecticut Youth Forum. They still do it, but it's not as significant as it was when I was growing up. Like, everybody knew about it. Everybody wanted to join. And a lot of our inner city kids here don't know nothing about it. Don't know nothing about CPAP. Don't know nothing about Connecticut Youth Forum. Again, as y'all can see, I started with, Our Piece of the Pie, which was Joe Hartford.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I graduated from there well before they even changed their name into Our Piece of the Pie. So again, I activities is a must for kids because kids need to stimulate their minds. Don't get me wrong, running around and stuff like that, that's fine. That's all outside, but it would give them some sort of relief. Like, I didn't have to pay for a lot of things. We paid for whatever we needed to pay for, but we didn't have to pay for a lot of it. A lot of it was grants, and it was the people, our coordinators and stuff like that fought for it. So we just have to have dedicated people, and we don't have enough of that.
Well, the literature does show, the research does show that having positive activities for kids does contribute to their overall safe health and well-being.
Oh, yes.
Those kind of things do save lives. Safe supervised activity.
Yep.
Absolutely. There's a lot of good things.
It helps them build like an aptitude to certain things, develop certain interests in certain areas, and may want to
learn other things, conflict resolution. I mean, there's so much.
You do a whole lot, trust me, from life skills to whatever you can think of. At least I did it, and look how I turned out.
It's a buffer against, there's no guarantee, but there's a buffer against community violence, addiction, leading to overdose, leading to suicide, leading to, gun violence, all that stuff. It does protect against all of that, and it bonds them to school. The better they do in school, the better a chance they have in life.
Outside, I agree.
As a
I
child,
just want to stop for a minute and say this, because this is programming is international. We always want to make it relevant for people who are not in Hartford, Connecticut, United States. And one thing that we often talk about that we haven't mentioned yet is that we almost touched on is that everyone always thinks that these things happen in that community to those people. I want to make it clear that these things happen
everywhere
in the community, for all people, and everyone should take a look where you live and look at the data there to find out how many infants are dying every year. How many kids are dying through gun violence? Don't think it's just those people over there.
No.
Yes, and you can get information you can look up Department of Mental Health and Addiction in your area. You can look up the Department of Health, Public Health in your state for those kind of statistics. And for child-related stuff, you can look up DCF or Child and Welfare, whatever your state calls the Department of Children and Families. That's what it is here. CPS, some states, they have all the data right there for you. And schools too. Look up, what schools are doing better than others and why in your towns. All of that information is there for us, so we can't say we didn't know.
Yes.
Oh, yes. So interesting. If you want to look at what schools invest and the resources on the State Department of Education website, there's something called the School Report Card.
Yes.
And a lot of people look at that before they decide to buy a house.
Right.
They look at where they're going to live based on how many kids graduate, what the success rate is, all of that.
Send your kid to public school or pay for private school.
Exactly.
Yeah. So before we move on to some personal stuff, how many parents are in the parent engagement group? How many?
So this is a core group of, it's supposed to be 10 parents, but it's 7 because we have lots of members. And here's the vision. I wanted to talk about this. The vision of the parents is that we will have a parent engagement work group. It could be that name or a different name in every neighborhood in Hartford. This is what we're looking at for the future. And it would be made up of up to 10 core parents who then go out and outreach with information, advocacy, organizing with parents all over.
Yes.
And that each group from each neighborhood, right, would send a representative to a stakeholder group that will be the governance of it as it goes on. So that's what we're looking to roll out and change and implement in the next, say, 6 to 12 months. We'll need to do some, money raising, which we will, because we want all these parents to receive stipends for doing this work, and they should. And that's, that's where that will move.
Wow, a network.
Yes. So, this project was called a demonstration project. So demonstration project, you're trying it out to figure it out, to see what you're going to do, and then what are you going to replicate and do? So that's why one small one for this stage 1, stage 2, bloom it out.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for reporting on all of the hard work that you've been doing. It's just amazing to see. And like Mom, you pointed out that it's not just about Hartford, and this can happen really in every community. It really can, and it should.
It does.
So to move on to some personal stuff, as I was saying earlier, before we actually started the show, Regina has been like a pinnacle for being an outspoken woman, a proud woman, somebody who's transparent, somebody who tells it like it is so that the rest of us can learn from her and, soak up that honesty and look at ourselves. That's what I love one of the things I love about you. So we want to dig into some things that you've let the Primal audience know to see what's happening in those areas.
Oh, all right now.
Okay. So one thing that we talked about, if you remember the relationship show that we had in January, you were talking about, you asked the question to us and said, how is it that you could get more vulnerable within your relationships and be closer and really trust the person that you're with, everything that they're saying, what their heart seems to be saying? How are you able to trust it? You asked the group, like, you guys really trust what people say? And I thought that was so poignant.
Okay.
So, have things changed for you? Has your mindset?
Oh, Lord, the universe, they talk about being on a potter's wheel. Okay. So
Explain. I don't know.
Oh, so there's something in the Bible someplace, I'm no Bible, about God being like a potter, where you put, child, what is that movie where the clay thing is spinning around?
Oh, where the movie Ghost?
Is that it? Where's this I think it's an older movie than that, but it might be. Anyway, what do you call it? When you're making pottery,
yes,
there's a wheel.
Yes.
And you put the clay on it and it spins around and you shape it. So there's something, I believe it's in the Bible, I don't know, that talks about like God being the potter and the people are on the potter's wheel. So the image that's been with me lately is that the higher power, the Buddha, the spirit, the God, whatever, has got me on that wheel too fast, spinning around. Oh my Lord, what's happening to me? Slow down the wheel, slow down the wheel. So here's where it is. So just inside, in myself, in my spirit and all that, I'm trusting the universe, not necessarily any individual, but trusting the universe and myself a lot more. What I've seen is that if I had trusted my gut in the beginning, I would have fired some of these fools before we got started.
There we go.
But I didn't know, part of the damage that was done to me taught me not to believe myself. And that's an important thing when it comes to child abuse, sexual abuse especially, I think, but any type, right? Is that when you're told that your truth isn't true, oh, that was just a bad dream. Oh, that didn't happen. Oh, he wouldn't do that. You don't believe yourself.
Right.
So you're real vulnerable to the snakes and the foxes that come upon you with one face, and your gut goes, but you're like, oh, I don't know what I feel.
Right.
And so as I heal and trust me more, I'm not feeling like so in danger. I might not believe what somebody says, but if I don't believe it, guess what? I'm not going home with them. They ain't coming to my house either.
I know that's right.
So, so that's where I've gotten with that. But here's the scariness. Oh my Lord, I knew it was coming. I felt it in the air. I was having lunch with a friend who's truly a friend. Who's like, Miss Gina, I know somebody who's interested in you. Would you be maybe interested in a date? So me, this is what I did. I'm like, and then I went right back to what we were meeting about. And then I was like, oh, that was kind of rude.
What?
They probably thought I wasn't interested, but I just was scared. So more recently, I sent a text and said, tell me more about this. So I'll see what happens.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
But I mean, I've been doing crazy stuff that speaks to vulnerability. So not crazy as in wrong, but crazy for me. Yeah. So nobody would believe that just yesterday I had my makeup professionally done and had a professional photographer come in and do headshots.
Is that right? So you are healing in a monumental way.
Oh God, I know. It's crazy. So I used to always say, my hair, I am a statement and not a style. And now I've decided that I can be a statement with style. I wanted people to hear me. I didn't want anybody to see me because I thought I was ugly and hideous. I just wanted to be heard. I knew I had something to say.
Wow.
But I was afraid to be seen. So wow. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's so beautiful.
I was like taking headshots.
How did you feel?
Oh, I actually felt glamorous. I did. I felt almost giddy.
Yeah, I bet.
But shocked. So when the photographer said she's doing her thing and she said, beautiful, I was like,
who, me? Yes, you.
Yeah, I was kind of like freaked out by that. But I took a deep breath. Take it in.
Awesome.
So, and I'm very, very, very conscious of being well loved by a lot of people. Now, whether I'll ever let that be romantic, only time will tell.
Yeah, no time like the present. So you're going to call that number, right? You're going to call that person.
Hold on, I think.
Yep, just step out on faith, girl.
Oh, she muted herself. Everything okay over there? You're muted.
Are you talking to me?
Yep, I didn't know I was muted.
Okay.
Yeah, but my speaker also started acting crazy, and then it muted me. But I'm back.
Okay. Now you're back, yes.
See, it's the ghosts. Or whatever. That's a vulnerability ghost.
Right.
But, that's where that's going.
Okay. I was joking before. I was saying, so you're going to go ahead and call this person, right? Soon.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, well, that's good because we need to have another update show. You never know.
Someday,
just keep it like a novela. The novela de Mexico.
Yes, it could be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could be.
Yes. So I wanted to read the chat a little bit before we continue. Sorry, guys, we weren't ignoring you, I promise. I wanted to go back to the business aspect. There were people mentioning some things, and then we can go back to the personal because someone gave a great answer about the pottery wheel. So as you were talking about before, actually it was Kayla talking about the programs in the school. Patrick is on. Welcome, Patrick, and says that it promotes resilience to risky behavior. Absolutely, it does.
Well put.
Yes. And he also says that this discussion is crucial, especially after the reversals witnessed during COVID, and that's for sure. Professor X says, so true. It's the school district that determines the value of your home. Absolutely. Patrick says, go Regina Dighton, Rue advocate for the empowerment of community members. Riri says, yes, God is the potter of our lives. And Chris Townsend says it's in Jeremiah 18, verses 2 through 6, the potter's wheel. And then he goes on to say, go down to the potter's house, and there I will give you my message. So I went down to the potter's house, and I saw him working at the wheel. But the pot he was shaping from the clay was marred. Ah, makes me want it. Okay, then it says in his hand, oh, it was marred in his hands. So the potter formed it into another pot, shaping it as it seemed best to him. Then the word of the Lord came to me. He said, can I not do with you, Israel, as this potter does? Declares the Lord. Like clay in the hand of the potter, so are you in my hand, Israel. All right.
So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to let go. Wake me, shake me, shape me. But it's like this wheel is going fast.
Well, now you done slowed it down.
Okay.
Curve out the lines of the
Okay.
just so. I can already picture the vision shaping. Let's see. Nazalim is in the house. Hey, and says blessing on inner light. And then earlier, Riri had given prayers to Kayla. I meant to say that.
Oh, yes.
Prayers to her. Yes, indeed. All right. So it's Women's History Month. Have you been thinking about anything for this month as a powerful woman that you are? Anything struck a chord with you?
I've been making sure that I'm good to myself. And that's a blessing just to come to that awareness. But I've also been thinking about the women in my life and in the world that I appreciate so much. So I've been thinking about my grandmother, we called Mama Lula, who made me feel competent at a very early age. She taught me to be very patient with young children. She and my grandfather were farmers in Kentucky. So their work was serious. It was hard. The weather was hot. The first thing she did every morning was go out and pump water from a pump and carry these two great big tin buckets into the house to get her day's work done. And she chop wood and start her stove. And here's me running along behind her, helping. And she didn't even begin to let me think I was in the way till I was old enough to see that I was no help, that maybe some entertainment, but indeed slowed it down, made her day longer, was a hindrance. But that, and I can tear up with this, but she loved me that much to have her with her pumping water. I'm sure I speared more potatoes, rendered them rotten, or else you had to cook them that day. Must have smashed a bunch of tomatoes.
Oh, no.
Peaches, all those things that are soft, probably strangle some baby chickens for a lot of, I don't know, messed up stuff. And then swore I was making a pie. God knows what I did to the dough. But she gave, I'm who I am today. I have this confidence today. Even when I don't know what I'm doing, I feel like I'll figure it out. And I feel even more appreciative when I look back at the timing, know that my grandmother was the first generation of Black women born after the Emancipation Proclamation. So, her parents were enslaved until they were adolescents.
Wow.
And she was the first one born, and
free.
Right. And I asked myself the question, this is a theme of something I'm going to write. Because to me, this is the wonder of Black people and of Black women. How do hated people love?
How do hated people love?
It should not be a wonder. when we hate ourselves and one another. It just shouldn't be a wonder. It's almost a formula.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, when you look at
Yeah.
the treatment of enslaved people,
Mhm.
even those who were treated best in that system
Right.
were taught
We're
that we
hated.
had no value, that, you know, and then talk about the trauma and the stress and all of that stuff with everyday life. And I want to know, like, it's got to be pure spirit. How
It is.
this woman,
Mhm.
the first generation born, not somebody else's property. That didn't mean she had any rights. She lived in segregation, legal segregation her whole life. And then in 64, when, you know, that ended, by then she was a senior citizen, you know. So
Yeah.
how was she so loving?
Spirit.
Right. Yeah. Or is it the
You can
first,
ask
you know?
many of us. I mean, you can go back in all of our histories and wonder how. I mean, I
Yes.
think the resilience we brought here from the motherland just in our DNA. I mean,
That's what
there's
I want to know.
no
Like,
way
how
to
as a people?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's partly how we got enslaved too, and how we,
it is.
you know,
That love, that trust,
mm-hmm,
you know,
Mhm.
that non-violence.
mm-hmm,
Yes. Yeah. It's how Native
Yeah.
Americans became almost extinct.
mm-hmm.
But there's a
That's what
power
we-
in that. It's like that hated people continue to love.
Yeah, and that is a powerful thing. I know somebody, their mom is like that, an elderly mom who's like never yelled at anybody, was like the most patient woman. I'm sure people thought they were getting to her, but she literally was just so happy inside that none of that stuff got to her, and her spirit never wavered. Just a sweet, beautiful soul, no matter who tried things, and never lost her temper. And that's the embodiment of strength.
And I think maybe like where the focus was, she was the first generation
Mhm.
to know that she was allowed to keep her children, allowed to love her children.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That right there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because my great grandparents were adolescents at the Emancipation Proclamation, they then had children that they could keep. But they weren't born up until their adolescence. They didn't necessarily think that their children wouldn't be sold off.
Right. Wow.
And so, you know, perhaps that's what comes out of that, but that lives on forever. And that really goes right into the whole topic about child safety forward. For me, like, these are our children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've seen people talk about, oh, we don't have the bandwidth to do this and blah, 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 blah. For me, this is not just a project. It's not a checkoff list. I want to be with it. You know, spirit willing. I want to be with it, supporting it until I see rates of child death and injury go down. That's measured by something reliable.
Yeah.
That we can trust. You know, another thing parents and community will be doing is examining examples from around the country, from the other 4 sites that did this project and elsewhere, such as my favorite, the Black Child Legacy Project, because it actually has data showing it reduced child death. But, you know, we'll look at what do we bring? I want to be with it to see us live.
Absolutely. Have you guys thought about implementing the circle of security? Did we talk about that?
We didn't talk about it, but I know that there are many that exist. There's some that exist locally. And I know the Family Advocacy Center has it. And that's one we haven't gotten to that point yet, but want to show all these to the parents.
Yes.
What will work here? And you know, one thing might work better in one neighborhood, one in another. If you do it by neighborhood, then you really get to people. And I'll just say, I know we're almost out of time, but Black Child Legacy in Sacramento, California, addressed child death by neighborhood. And they identified, of course, their police have different kind of record keeping, but they identified a lot through the police, the major cause of death by neighborhood.
Wow.
Now, to the best I know, Hartford doesn't readily or easily have that kind of data to say in this neighborhood, this is the main reason children died. But once they identified that, that's what the parents and the community led to work on, saying to agencies, this is what you need. So in one neighborhood, it was unsafe sleep. Another one, it was domestic violence. And, you know, they targeted there. And they realized within 2 years, they saw a 20% decrease in death from unsafe sleep.
Really? 2 years?
Huge. That is
amazing.
Huge. Okay. And that's Black people in the neighborhood doing this. This is not somebody in an ivory tower. It's like, yeah. So and that's, you know, and I'm not downing anybody in that tower. I'm just saying, come down on the ground.
It's time to come down.
Right.
Come down on the ground.
Yes.
Come on, Rapunzel.
And listen to the Rapunzel Project, right? Because it's interesting sometimes when I see parents and other stakeholders interact, you know, anybody can begin to feel somewhat intimidated or whatever. But what I remember, and I try to remind parents, these people, they might have on their fancy suits or whatever, they're intimidated too. You know, there's nothing scarier to a DCF worker than a child dies in their case on their watch.
Yeah.
They didn't go to school and take that job because that's what they wanted to happen. You know, and there's nothing scarier than them thinking everybody hates them, you know, because of the bad outcome or blaming on, you know, they're scared.
There are good workers out there.
But they're scared. And it's a system. You really need to look at where systems
change. It's the system.
You got bad people and good people and everything. But when you've got a system that's broken.
Yes. There's barriers everywhere. You literally, some days you cannot do your job. Some days.
And it takes the people who are on the inside as well as those on the receiving end to come together and do that. I think the problem has been that community people just haven't been taken seriously. We can see so many examples of that, you know, right here in Hartford and throughout Connecticut. And so that's really where, you know, parent engagement and parent leadership is to show the competence, the wisdom, the expertise, and everybody bring their best to the table.
Yes. And it does begin with parents. They are the experts of their children, period.
Right.
And if they're not, they'll learn.
Representing parents.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Any last words for parents out there and how they can advocate for their children?
Well, let's see if Kayla's got anything she wants to say.
You know me, get out there, make it happen. That's all I can say, because I do it. So, you know, it's not that hard. I volunteer my time all the time everywhere. Get out there and volunteer your time, make yourself known, and be present, and be part of the talk.
Yeah. Is there a Facebook group that somebody can join in order to know some of these places to join, like these resources? Like,
oh my God, no, but I guess we'll have to start one and tell you what it is.
Yeah, we'll be working on that. We'll be working on it.
One of the things we know has to happen. And ask questions. I'll say to parents, ask questions. Don't be afraid to challenge. And don't be afraid to go to meetings because you think you won't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
If you don't understand it, half the people there don't understand it, but they're afraid that they're going to look like they're not smart. So just raise your hand and be, what does that mean?
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't understand that.
I used to be one of those.
Nobody else does either. Everything I know, there was a time when I didn't know any of it.
Yep.
And I learned what I learned because I went to meetings and sat through, what the heck are these people talking about? Well, let me just keep sitting here till I understand.
Yep.
Places to go. Like, break it down, please.
Yep.
I'm just gonna say that, you know, I raised Naima to ask questions, and Lord knows that whatever setting she was in, someone would always come up to her afterwards and say, "I'm so glad you asked that question."
Yes.
Never be afraid to learn. Never be afraid to educate yourself. And the only way you can do that is by asking questions.
Yeah.
and I happen to be nosy, that works.
Yeah, that's true
So,
too.
yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I'm the same way. So I'll meet you there.
Yeah, I like to know what makes people's minds tick, and
Yep.
I'm always searching for answers somehow. So I have to ask the questions.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what an amazing show, ladies.
you.
I
Thank you so
really,
much.
yes. Thank you.
Thank you for having
for
us.
joining us
Thank
one more
you.
time. You're
All
welcome.
right.
See you again.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Best of luck to both of you. Another update in a few months, okay?
You know
Yes.
it. Take
Awesome.
care.
Great.
All
Bye.
right.
Take it easy.
Blessings.
Yep.
Blessings, everybody.
everyone.
Blessing.
Stay tuned right
Great.
here for Heart of Soul with Daddy Line coming up next. And after Heart of Soul, we have Father Bird with the musical Emancipation from 9 to 11. Take it easy, guys. Peace.
Peace.